Hello YouTube. I came across this image while on Facebook, and it gives me a perfect chance to talk about the whole problem with the hashtag Black Lives Matter. First, let's go through the image. Adam Campbell says, "My personal interpretation of Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. Bob is sitting at the dinner table. Everyone else gets a plate of food except Bob. Bob says, Bob deserves food. Everyone at the table responds with, everyone deserves food, and continues eating. Although everyone deserves food is a true statement, it does nothing to actually rectify the fact that Bob has no food." So, as you can see, this post got 229 likes in about an hour. On the page where my friend got the image, it has over 22,000 likes and over 70,000 shares. I think we can take this then as a widely agreed upon explanation of what Black Lives Matter is all about. Well, I'm going to present my own analogy. Bob and a whole bunch of other people are sitting at a restaurant. The food arrives and Bob doesn't get any food. Bob says, Bob deserves food. Everyone at the table responds with, everyone deserves food. They say this not because they don't care about Bob, but because Kathy only got her side dishes, and Joe didn't get his drink, and Sally got the wrong order. See, it's not that they disagree that Bob deserves food, it's that they disagree with Bob making the problem all about himself. Yes, Bob is affected the most because he didn't get any food at all, but do we really think the reason is that the waiter has it out for Bob in particular? Maybe, but it's more likely that the issue is that there's a bad waiter or bad kitchen staff or bad management. So Bob keeps complaining. The waiter comes and Bob demands that he be brought food. The waiter asks what Bob ordered, and Bob starts screaming at him that he deserves food. The waiter leaves confused because he doesn't know what Bob ordered, and meanwhile, Kathy, Joe, and Sally don't even get a chance to talk to the waiter. Eventually, the waiter brings out a random dish to Bob, who throws it on the floor because it's the wrong dish. Bob deserves food, he says. Eventually, the manager comes over and asks what the problem is. Bob says, Bob deserves food. The manager sees that the other diners are missing food too and says, oh, it looks like everyone is missing some food. So Bob starts yelling at the manager. Yes, everyone has problems, but my problem is worse. The manager, now startled and scared, meekly asks Bob what he wants. Bob says, Bob deserves food. So now the manager brings out the whole menu to appease Bob, lets him take his pick of the option, and Bob eats miserably, throwing away food he doesn't like and loudly complaining if the food isn't perfect. Meanwhile, Kathy looks on hungrily. In the end, Bob and the rest leave the restaurant. Bob then writes a terrible review and then goes on a campaign to get restaurants everywhere closed down. Meanwhile, the staff at the first restaurant is still terrible, the manager is still terrible, and the kitchen staff is still inept, and many people continue to get the wrong order every night. See, Black Lives Matter is a vague, truistic statement that accomplishes nothing to solve the actual issues in society. The assumed goal seems noble, the end of racism against black people. But in reality, the movement has devoted itself mostly to defending the memory of young black men who were killed while committing criminal acts or otherwise acting in a way that isn't conducive to a civil society. They've also been demanding diversity based on skin color rather than merit, and generally being rude and obnoxious. Police reform, especially around the use of lethal force, is something I've been a supporter of for a very long time. Black Lives Matter is counterproductive to solving that problem because it makes it all about race, when race is not the only factor. If you want fewer young black men to be killed by police, get the police to kill less people overall, and not only will you save the lives of black people, but people of all races. Black Lives Matter shuts down conversation, because unless you are willing to make every issue solely about race, supporters of this movement will shout you down and label you a racist. It makes it harder to solve real-life problems, and it's divisive. It increases racial tension and divides people along racial and ideological lines. And in the end, if Black Lives Matter actually achieves its goals, the result will probably just be police being afraid to arrest black people no matter what they do. Do we really want to promote a society where some people can do whatever they want without consequence just because of the color of their skin? So yes, the lives of human beings do matter. But if someone steals a car and leads the police in a high-speed chase and ends up being killed, I'm not going to have a lot of sympathy for that person compared to someone who did nothing wrong. And if you think that makes me a bad person, well, I don't really care what you think. But I do care what you think about this video. So go ahead and leave a comment. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all the best.